This is Volunteer Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Central Vista Project and its features. The participants are Shekhar Iyer, political analyst, and Aditi Tandon, journalist.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will dedicate to the nation a fully refurbished Central Vista Avenue tomorrow. It will obviously be a very historical moment in the national journey, considering that this is happening right after the country marked the 76th Independence Day, and we've already entered the Amrit Kaal of independence, which means that in the next 25 years we will be marking our centenary. As we know, Mr. Iyer, that Prime Minister Modi in his Independence Day speech had spoken of shedding even the last trace of colonial mindset that we might have. And now we are shedding colonial trace of Rajpath. As we all know that today the New Delhi Municipal Corporation held a special meeting to rechristen Rajpath as Kartavya Path. So we are already reinforcing our national heritage, our national symbol, and also the fact that Prime Minister's stress on duties continues, and Rajpath will now be called Kartavya Path. How do you look at this whole process?
This is a very, very significant step because people can say what is there in a name. But I think the very fact that Viceregal Lodge was renamed as Rashtrapati Bhavan, that completely changed the way you look at things when the name changes. Now, in this particular case, as you mentioned, the Prime Minister had recently, when he addressed the Independence Day celebrations from the Red Fort, he had talked of 5 pledges. And one of the pledges was, the first pledge was, we must give up this colonial mindset, tendency to hang on to some of the things that we have received as bequeathed to us by the British. And we feel as if that without that we don't have an identity. There are several things that have happened since Prime Minister took office in 2014. You will recall that number of laws were made obsolete, or rather laws which were there in the statute, but there were almost 1,500 laws. All those laws were done away with. Similarly, today, what you are seeing is 2 things. One, the renaming of this place with a completely and improved, refurbished central space of Delhi, I would say. And along with that being called a Kartavya Path, that itself is very significant because over the years there has been so much of emphasis on our adhikar, on our hak, on our rights. And so constantly there has been a call from the President downwards, and the Prime Minister said it several times. It is also important that citizens realize their duties to the country also. So by renaming an important public thoroughfare as Kartavya Path is a reminder to all citizens that we also owe something to this nation.
Mr. Iyer, you have summed it up all very beautifully. Also, I might recall to you that this is actually an ongoing process, the process of renaming roads to match the names of roads and symbols with national heritage. For instance, in 2015, right just 1 year after Prime Minister Modi assumed office, his own official residence was renamed from 7 Racecourse Road to 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, closer to how the people of the country will understand that very important road. So this whole process of renaming the symbols of the country to bring them in line with the national identity so that they resonate in the larger national consciousness, this has been quite an ongoing process. What do you think?
Very fact that when the central government decided to undertake this massive redevelopment of the Central Vista and Rajpath, which is now Kartavya Path, there was so much opposition. But already what we are getting to see this place, the new place itself speaks of the aspirations of new India. You can see that the new place has got tremendous features, facilities for people, for pedestrians, separate pathways. The canals have been filled with fresh water and provisions for drainage, solid waste management, and so many things. And I am told there is going to be a food court which will represent food items from each state of this country. There are several innovative things so that whenever we visit foreign capitals, be it Paris or London or Washington, there are certain very significant features to a place of national importance there. Similarly, here is an attempt to showcase this particular area, that is Rajpath or Kartavya Path, which actually gives you a magnificent view. You see on one end is the Purana Killa, and the other end is the Rashtrapati Bhavan on the Raisina here. This magnificent view with such a beautiful redone features, it speaks volumes about what we are today as a country.
The naming of Central Vista Avenues and Rajpath as Kartavya Path does not seem to be an isolated event. Mr. Iyer, if we look at the recent past, we also see that India's youngest president, Draupadi Murmu, who just took oath of office on July 25th, in her own inauguration speech, mentioned that in the 25 years of Amrit Kal, the path to attain national goals will proceed on two tracks, Sabka Prayas or Sabka Kartavya, which means everyone's efforts and everyone's duties. So this stress on duties has been going on for a while now. After the President's address, Prime Minister Modi in his Independence Day speech also said that collective national efforts, national duties were required to take India forward towards the path of being called a developed nation.
Duties are very important. Of course, now people are saying by renaming this Rajpath as the Kartavya Path, more importance is being given to duties and the government is absolving itself of any responsibility. I have seen those kind of meaningless criticism without understanding the fact for a long time, as citizens. We have been more talking about our rights. We want to know what the government will do for us, what the state will do for us. Yes, the state has a lot to do for you. But as an individual citizen, you have certain duties towards the state, towards your fellow citizens. So by renaming this is only a reminder to each of us. Because whenever we pass through that area, all those who are in Delhi or those who visit Delhi will remember, look, this is a significant aspect of our statehood that citizens also have, if not equal, definitely an important role in performance of their duties. So that has to be emphasized. And the fact that this has been completely rechanged. See, when we got independence, Kingsway was simply translated as Rajpath. Because it was called Kingsway, it became Rajpath. And these roads, mind you, were to commemorate King George V, who had visited during the Delhi Darbar of 1911, when capital was shifted from Calcutta to Delhi. Now, these are all historical significance, okay, pre-independence. But post-independence, we need to, that is why the new parliament building, which is coming up, and I expect the new winter session of parliament will start from November this year. That is also to symbolize this, that our aspiration as a budding nation today, we have completed 75 years, and our buildings, our institution must reflect our confidence.
When Prime Minister Narendra Modi led the merging of Amar Jawan Jyoti with the flame of the National War Memorial, there was a huge controversy at that time, but you would recall that process was accomplished. And if we look back at Parliament archives, we actually realize that even former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi led Congress government as long back as 1972 was contemplating a permanent war memorial called Amar Jawan at Delhi. So this is something that the government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi has now successfully completed earlier this year, and now the whole Central Vista redevelopment project can be seen as a continuum of that.
Absolutely, because a country like ours with such a rich military history, didn't have a proper war memorial, national war memorial, with thousands of people visiting Delhi and particularly to that Central Vista area to see the India Gate, which is again a commemoration of our soldiers who lost while battling for the British in the First World War. So it was felt that there should be a proper war memorial, and that is how the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji took the decision and the war memorial came up. Similarly, I want to recall, that the museum that has come to honor all the Prime Ministers, right from Pandit Nehru ji till the last Prime Minister, so that we get to know about their contribution, their personality and their own saga in our great freedom struggle and thereafter. So I think this kind of redevelopment of historical places, bringing new meaning and significance, is absolutely necessary when the country is marching ahead after completing 75 years for independence.
How do you see the ongoing politics with respect to the redevelopment of this entire area and also on the issue that Rajpath has now been called Kartavya Path?
Whether it is new parliament building or redevelopment of Central Vista, all along people have, admitted that these areas need redevelopment because there is too much of pressure of traffic, too much of pressure of people visiting these places and need for more smooth passage. All these things people have acknowledged. Similarly, the new parliament building, because we all know the old parliament may be a very iconic building, but the fact remains that it needed repairs frequently and a lot of state money was being, spent in upkeep. And the fact that we are headed for, fresh delimitation and new constituencies may be created, we have to think today for the future. So similarly, when you look at Central Vista that is coming up, and particularly the new Kartavya Path, what we get to understand, once it is open, people will realize criticism for criticism's sake will have no meaning because they will see for themselves The beauty that has been added to the place, along with redevelopment, more facilities, more parking area, more public utilities like toilet, all that is going to make when next events are held like Republic Day, it's going to be a more of convenience and more of beauty for all of us to see.
Also, Mr. Iyer, it's interesting that Central Vista is reopening at a time when India has just overtaken the United Kingdom as the world's fifth largest economy. And isn't that very coincidental and a very interesting time in history that India has now overtaken the country that ruled it for so many years?
When the world itself is looking at us in a very new perspective. And there is so much of potential in this country that is now coming to the fore. So definitely we as a countrymen need to feel proud that we'll soon have world-class facilities, institutions and structures that will make us feel proud. Because I know a number of us who go abroad and come back and say, oh, Singapore is great, or London is great, or Paris is great. I mean, instead of admiring how things done there, why not allow for changes here? And it has been possible. Any change usually is inconvenient. Even a good change is inconvenient. But once you realize the benefits coming, you will say that this is good. Like take for instance the digital payment system. Usually people were totally cynical of this view, saying who will have a mobile phone, how will money get transferred, what is the guarantee, what is the security. But today even your daily grocery purchases can be done on digital payment, and we have all adapted it. The rich, the poor, the middlemen, the middle class, the lower class, everybody follows the digital method. So many things have changed. So first we'll have to embrace the change. Yes, there may be some change which may not be very convenient, but those can always be discarded and we can go for more improvement. And also the fact, right from the time the Prime Minister took off, he has been essentially saying that we'll have to move with the time and we'll have to prepare for the future. That may need a lot of changes, whether it is our railways, our roadways, whether it is our infrastructures like our airports, seeing more greenfield airports. See, all this is to take care of the future, because India as a country must think of the future needs and prepare today for that future.
Also, Mr. Iyer, what the Prime Minister said in the Independence Day speech with respect to the collective national effort to make India a developed country over the period of the Amrit Kal that has now started with the 76th Independence Day that we just marked. And there was a fabulous Har Ghar Tiranga campaign which was also a stupendous success, tried for the first time in the history of the country. And again, you'll remember how the government made changes to the flag code to enable people to actually hoist the flag 24/7. Everything that we see around us, whether it is the redevelopment of Central Vista, the renaming of the roads, the development of Prime Minister's Museum, all seems to be the part of the larger narrative that Prime Minister unveiled in his Independence Day speech, Mr. Iyer.
Aditi, our Prime Minister believes in that for any movement to be successful, for any big change to happen in this country, it has to be a people's movement, or it must involve mass participation. That is possible only if their emotions are involved in big things. That is why you saw Tiranga Yatra this time, as you mentioned, was made in such a way that every Indian feels proud to hold the tricolor. That particular significance is the fact that when you feel proud of your country, you want to do the best, and you want to see that whatever little you do in whichever sphere of activity you are, you want to do the best, because that's the best service for the country. So in order to invoke this spirit, the Prime Minister has been talking of this Panch Pran, and the fact that these pledges make us commit ourselves, particularly among the youth. See, for the elderly people, they can have a different view, but the youth has to get motivated. And the best way to get motivated is to understand the 5 pledges or the 5 plans, which the Prime Minister spoke about. Because without motivation, big changes are not possible. Because just as we saw Swachh Bharat campaign, initially people thought it was a government campaign, but it turned out to be a mass movement. That school children, college students, everybody participated. That is what the Prime Minister wants, that every big thing, every big change involves a lot of public participation. At the same time, a participation that brings out their responsibilities and their sincerity towards fulfillment of the goals that we have for this country.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Aditi.
You're listening to a discussion on Central Vista Project and its features. The participants were Shekhar Iyer, political analyst, and Aditi Tandon, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.